Welcome to Spider-Verse Minute, the tri-weekly podcast where we watch Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse 1 minute at a time. I'm Sean Slater.
And I'm his sister Caroline.
And today we're watching minute 59, which opens with a mysterious bus driving through the woods, and ending a minute later with Aunt May opening the door and seeing Gwen and Miles.
Mysterious bus.
It is. Who's on it? No idea.
Well, this just makes my title sound really creepy now. I titled this minute Not Alone.
I mean, obviously, we see like at least 3 people on the bus. So.
You just made it sound way creepier than I was going to be like, it's like a little sweet title. No, now it sounds creepy.
Yeah. But yeah, we almost immediately cut into the bus. And find out that it's the bus taking Gwen, Peter, and Miles back to the city.
I feel the need to point this out. So, like, when we first saw the bus bringing Peter and Miles up, it was, like, quite full.
Yeah.
There's, like, no one on this one.
Well, I imagine, like, that was probably the commuter bus, and so is everybody going to work, maybe?
Or going home, depending.
No, it was in the morning, so it'd be...
Oh, good point, yeah, it was in the morning.
Although it was coming out of the city.
Right?
Maybe it was third shift people coming home, that's why the guy was knocked out. That would make a little bit of sense. Okay. Yeah, that works.
I could see, you know what? It might be a mix of both. It's probably a mix of both.
And then this is just like a middle of the afternoon kind of, like, I mean, it's probably only early morning now, like it maybe is lunchtime, if that. So that's why it's empty, is nobody's traveling on the bus in the middle of the day.
Good point.
And it's not near like a normal shift change.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah. This minute's pretty much just like...
Talking?
Yeah, it's almost 3/4 of it is them talking on the bus, and then at the very end, they show up to Aunt May's house.
I do have a few questions.
Yeah.
So, Gwen tells Miles that she knows where to make a new goober.
Yeah.
How does she know that?
I think it's like, she doesn't know that they can make the goober there, but she knows where she can go to find out.
See, my theory is that she comes and she sees Spider-Man. She's like, oh my gosh, there's another Spider-Man in this universe. Like, maybe there's another Peter. Because, grief.
Yeah.
So she goes to where her Peter used to live, or maybe where her Aunt May and Uncle Ben lived. And when she was there, she saw them there, and she's like, oh my gosh, and maybe Peter was visiting or lives there. We're never really clear. I think he'd be visiting because I think he lives with MJ.
No.
Yeah, because they're married in this universe.
You're right.
Yeah.
That would be a little weird.
I mean,
not really.
Not really.
I take that back, because MJ does live with... Oh no, Gwen lives with Aunt May in the Ultimate Universe. But...
Yeah, maybe she went to visit Aunt May. Who knows? I'm just saying.
So, well, I was going to say, instead of visiting Aunt May, if this is very similar to the comics, like into the comics iteration of her, then she actually lives next door to them. So she could have just been going home. And
maybe.
Because, like, she didn't... She mentioned how, she was blasted into New York, but it wasn't really New York. And so maybe she was just, like, a little confused. And she's like, I just need to get home.
Yeah.
And so she was going, next door to where her house was. And it was like, oh, Peter just died here. Like, something's wrong. And then, like, she's like, okay, I have to figure what's going on here. And then that might lead her to Brooklyn Academy somehow. Maybe she picks up Miles's...
Yeah,
I was gonna say scent, but she like feels Miles during the like trying to puzzle what just happened and what brought her here. And so she was like, okay, I know where that is now. Yeah. Even though I guess that became public knowledge. But I agree with you too. I guess we both agree on the same thing, is that it's not a like she knows for a fact that they can go there, but she knows where they can go to find out more information, because she's smart like that.
She is smart. But yeah, that was the first thing. Like, how does she know? I never thought of this before. How does she know where to go?
I also love her, like, so he broke this, and just, like, clearly does not believe that that's the reason for it at all.
She just goes with it. Like, I love it. She's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's just, like, it's a great little moment between the two of them, where you can see, like, Yeah, you can see her guard drop a little bit when she laughs with him, and like it's just this very nice, heartfelt, just like a warm little blanket on a cold day with a cup of hot cocoa kind of conversation.
Yeah, there's quite a few sweet moments in this.
He is a bit like abrupt about the sorry about your friend, like just kind of at it. Like we didn't hear the beginning of the conversation, but it seems very out of nowhere, and so it's a little jarring that he says, but it also makes sense because Miles is still a bit awkward.
Yeah, and like I think he's also trying to process having lost, like, obviously he wasn't friends with Peter, but having seen that.
Yeah.
And like Gwen saw hers too.
Yeah.
So there's almost like a
shared bond there.
Yeah, like a shared bond there is like...
It's slightly different.
But like they both have seen some heavy things.
Yeah.
In that, and it's like that bonds them together. So it's like maybe I can get a little help here, because I think he's still trying to process it. Like he hasn't.
Oh yeah, definitely.
He hasn't flat out told anybody.
I thought he told Peter B.
He like kind of did, but not fully.
Okay.
Like he says like I'm not gonna sit back and watch Spider-Man die. Yeah, I'm not doing that again. So like it's definitely implied, but he doesn't share any details.
And it's been kind of a whirlwind bit. Like he hasn't really had time to relax since then.
Mm-hmm.
That I guess like he had the like day and a half after it happened, and when he went back to school.
Yeah, even then.
Oh no! Sorry, no. I'm getting my timeline mixed up. Yeah, he doesn't have a whole lot of time.
Yeah, like he's processing a lot. He's processing getting these spider powers, seeing Spider-Man die, like running from his life from Prowler. Like he really hasn't had a moment to just process any of it.
Yeah. The other thing too I really like about this conversation is my favorite line is Miles is like, well, if you ever want to do that friend thing, I think I can open a slot.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how it's just like he's not pushing it yet. Like it's a very good thing to do, like, you know, when you're ready.
Yeah, like it's very
like, you know, I'm here.
It's a very like it's up to you. Like I'm not gonna force you.
And I also like it's also that like he's kind of got like a, I guess, shoe and note, but like it feels like a self-deprecating joke to me, because it's like he doesn't really have a whole lot of friends.
He really doesn't.
At Brooklyn right now, and so he's been feeling very isolated, and so this is the first like other person that he's able to connect with on a very similar level, you know, since leaving Brooklyn Middle.
Yeah.
And I kind of hope that they don't go the like love interest route with the two of them.
I want them to be the best of buds.
In the comics, a couple years ago, before this movie came out, there was a little crossover, a couple crossover storyline that they did called Sitting in a Tree, where Miles' dad gets kidnapped by some bad guys from another Earth, and so he gets sent to that Earth, which happens to be Gwen's, to try to like rescue him. And as they're doing the rescuing, they're like bouncing between Earths a little bit, and one of the Earths they land up on is Earth 8, which is an Earth where Miles and Gwen eventually get married and have kids, and it takes place in the further in the future.
Yeah.
You know, it takes place in like the 20 years in the future, or further in the future than where they are now. It's confusing. I don't really get how that works, but like the dimension hopping stuff. But anyway, beside the point. And like, I if I remember correctly, I want to go back and double check that storyline, because I actually liked this story, but I think at the end of it, like current day Miles and Gwen are just kind of like, yeah, let's just stay friends. Like it doesn't really like. It's not there yet, and I just I like them better as friends. Just two kids doing their thing, being heroes. But
kicking butt and taking names.
Yeah, they are two of my favorite characters.
Yeah, I do love them both.
I just like them.
You like them in a platonic sense.
Yeah, like there's clearly a between the two of them, they clearly care for each other. In the comics, like it's a very clear, like there's a deep respect and bond there.
I guess it would depend how it's handled for me.
Yeah, like if they did it, I wouldn't be mad. I'd be like, okay,
Yeah.
guess we're going this way, and like it might turn out I love it that way. But
because there's like there are some relationships I've seen that like start as friends and then get into coupling and it like completely changes the relationship. Like well, I don't like that.
yeah,
And there are some that like start as friends, become coupley, and then they're like really the only difference is what they do is that they now hold hands more or something.
yeah,
And I'm like, see, that I like.
yeah, and I like. I guess right now where both of them are, like their characters are, I wouldn't like it. Like they would have to grow a little bit more until it made sense.
Yeah.
I also really like the relationship that Gwen has with Peter and how it's like both of them lost their other one.
Yeah.
You know, Gwen lost Peter and Peter lost Gwen. And so they're just like, okay, we got to look out for each other now.
Yeah.
And like, that one would be really weird if it went into...
That one would be strange.
Especially in the comics, because like there is also a big age gap. Like Gwen's just starting college and Peter's a professor at the school.
Oh,
so, like,
okay. We're going to stop that
icky.
there right now.
Yeah.
We're going to stop that conversation.
But yeah, like I like that kind of... Part of it feels like Gwen is like... I think Gwen's a couple years older than Miles. Like
in the comics?
Yeah, it always feels like an older sister, younger brother kind of
Yeah.
relationship that they have. And like in the Ultimate comics too, she sort of had a like, she really wanted Miles to be his best spider person, like where she didn't have powers and she was just like the ex-girlfriend of Peter. Like
I like how they take the comic Miles and Gwen relationship and put it into the movie, because this is really like their first meet, but you can already see the beginning of that relationship.
Yeah.
And I love the way they set it up. There's one moment in particular that I really like, that I want to point out, is when Gwen talks to Miles, like they're one-on-one, and she tells him, it's like, hey, I know this is all, I forget the exact line right now, but it's like, I know what it's like to be there and like
not have anyone to help you.
Yeah, not like just be confused about his powers and all of it. And it's confusing. Like, yeah, I get it. But it's nice to know that at least there are other spider people around.
Yeah, it's nice to have somebody else to help out with this part now.
Yeah, it's like it's nice to not be alone to figure this all out. Because I feel like each spider person, except Miles in this case, although even Miles in this case in many ways is like, it's crap trying to figure it out on your own. And while yes, Miles has all of these people around, well, right now it's just Peter and Gwen, like neither of them really do any training with him. Like he does still figure it out on his own in many ways. Like the only thing Peter really does is show him how to whip.
Yeah, and I love Peter, like... when you're watching it, it looks like he's sleeping in the... Or, like, when you're watching their conversation, it looks like he's sleeping, but it turns out he's just listening and just, like... He has this almost, like, proud dad kind of lying in the backseat. Just his, like, proud dad with his, like, two kids coming to an understanding kind of thing.
Yeah. I feel like he's, like, really proud of Miles, especially. He's like...
Yeah.
You talk to a girl. But I love that. Then we get to Aunt May's house. And I had a little CinemaSins moment. The amount of candles that are outside and lit on that lawn has to be a fire hazard. Like, I literally wrote amount of candles outside and I wrote underneath it, that's a fire hazard. I'm like, oh, okay, so CinemaSins is in my brain right now. My immediate thought was like, that's a lot of candles, especially a lawn that small.
Yeah, especially with a helium balloon right above the candles.
And all of the flowers?
Yeah, but, like, those have water in them. Like,
good point.
That I'm not really worried about, but, you know, the whole helium being flammable thing, it's a little dangerous there. Yeah. But... yeah, I love, like, just the way the shot is framed of just, like, oh, you have these cookie-cutter houses that, like, you know, that post-war building everything identical to each other, you know, kind of during the war a little bit as well. of just, okay, everything's the same on the block. And just the way they stand there and like Peter's pose of just like him standing there, hands on his hips, like just doing his thing.
Yep.
He does the little like rock back and forth too, like thinking, and then my favorite thing is when he turns to walk away and his hands are just like up in the air, like, nope, shouldn't have done this.
It's like, nope, I'm leaving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love when it's the shot of like from behind them.
Yeah.
There's a text box that says somewhere in Queens.
Yeah.
And I actually almost missed it when I was taking notes. I'm like, oh right, I forgot that was there. Like, it's a very subtle text box, and I appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where like I could do without them. This one's nice and subtle enough, and like the way they use them, it makes a bit more sense in this story where they've been doing those sort of comic pop-ups and whatnot, that I'll forgive it a little bit, but it's one of those things where you don't really need to say where everyone is all the time. If you have to put it on screen, then that kind of ruins it a little bit, but again, like, it fits a bit better. It makes a bit more sense in the context of this story because it's sort of emulating a comic book, and you have that.
Yeah,
in
like
comics.
if it was any other movie, I'd be like, okay, we don't need to know that. But because they are emphasizing that comic book aesthetic so much, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, it doesn't bother me.
And then Gwen webs Peter and
pulls him right back.
Yeah, he's like, no, you're coming back here.
It's like, oh, you're sad.
I like how it's really cool how it like just like flops to the ground. Like,
yeah, right. Just like, and down.
Like, she pulls it, yanks it, and then it's also really funny that she like hides it behind her back. Then, like she webs him, it flops to the ground, and then she's like, "Oh, I can't let Aunt May see me like having this here in my getup. Like, what if she finds out who I am?" Like, and so then the final shot of this minute we get is Aunt May opening the door, and we just see Gwen and Miles standing there. One of the things that kind of bothered me was like the web disappeared. Like,
right?
It's not
Okay,
there
I
anymore.
know too. I'm like,
yeah. I love how Miles is just like holding the computer like underneath his arm still, just like, it's just chilling there. He's like, okay, I got this. And like, did they just like carry that onto the bus? Like, did the bus driver just not care that like, oh, there's these 3 really weird people walking away from presumably like there's a bus stop near Alchemax maybe, but just like we're coming out of the woods with a computer. Like, what?
I'm sure they had a story.
Yeah, they're quite the like, ragtag bunch of people.
You got Hobo Spider-Man, a child,
and someone wearing ballerina shoes and a skin-tight suit
in the snow. With a computer. It's like, what is happening right now?
Yeah.
It's like, are you guys some weird Spider-Man cover band?
But yeah, and then the door opens and we end the minute before
lands on Peter. Yeah. This minute is one of those minutes that it feels like it kind of ends a little perfectly with the visually, where it's like, ooh, that was a satisfying way to end that minute.
Yeah.
But one thing I love about this reveal is, first off, I love the slow reveal of it in general, but I love how you can actually hear Aunt May's voice before she opens the door.
Yeah.
Like, you can tell it's like, okay, she's dealt with this all day. She doesn't want to deal with it anymore.
Her line of very sweet but no more fans today. Like, you can tell she's like, I appreciate what you're doing, but I am exhausted.
It's like, look, it's just too much right now. I need time.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Aunt May.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, oh.
And we'll talk more about Aunt May's voice actress next minute.
Is that all you have for this minute?
Yeah, that's everything I have.
Yeah, same here. Thank you all for listening, and we will catch you next time in minute 60. Until then, see you next time.
Bye.